Hello, welcome to We Don't Talk About Uno, the podcast where we don't talk about Uno, we talk about Disney's trading card game, Lorcana. My name's Simeon, and as always, I'm here with my beautiful co-host, the flounder to my Sebastian. It's David.
Hello.
How are we doing?
I am down where it's wetter.
That is where it's better.
Yeah.
I will take it from you.
But that's your line, so I stole your line. I think just flounder even talk.
Yeah. It's really annoying.
Is it? I really wanted a pet flounder.
Sorry, Jared.
When I was little.
We've got a listener who's a little bit obsessed with.
I love flounder.
I mean, don't get me wrong; it's a cool fish, but no, I always wanted the Nemo rather than the. If you go into a fish shop and you're looking at all the things, the Nemo's what I gravitate towards.
Okay.
Clownfish, is that what it's called?
Clownfish.
Anyway,
what are we talking about? What are we talking about on this fine evening?
Fish. No, we're talking about Lorcana, and we have got a sunset show. This is the show where we talk about how the first chapter has been for us, and we look back on some of those cards, and we're going to do that through a specific lens. The lens we're going to look at is how to keep the game accessible and fun. Because so far, there's been some card shortages where not everybody's been able to get the products. A lot of the cards have been, as expensive as a trading card game would be, but some people have been caught off guard by how expensive the cards
can be if you want particular ones,
if you haven't played a trading card game before.
So, but also, most trading card games have budget ways of playing them. And I think Lorcana's going to have that as well.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about the best commons and uncommons in each ink from the first chapter. So we know Rise of the Floodborn's just come out. That's the new hotness. We're not that interested in chasing clicks. We probably should be. But never mind. We're talking about the stuff that's just the Sunset Show.
So what we're saying goodbye to. And as with our last episode, we're not talking about the most powerful commons and uncommons necessarily. We're just talking about the ones that are most interesting to us.
Yes. At the end, we'll also have some listener questions. So if you sent in a question either via Twitter, open brackets, X, close brackets, or on TikTok, or via email, listen till the end, and we'll be answering some listener questions. So let's get started. First of all, let's just explain why we're talking about accessibility. And I just want to start with a little story about I went to the game shop.
To our local league.
Our local Lorcana league. Mm-hmm. And the first time I went with what I thought was an okay deck for
a nice upgraded starter deck, wasn't it?
Sorry, do you want to say that into the microphone, Dave?
Yes, a nice upgraded starter deck, wasn't it?
Leans over to grab his glass. Anyway, yes, I had two starter decks smashed together with some additional cards and some good additional cards as well.
Like Bell, yeah.
There's some decent cards in there. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't expecting to do well. Obviously, it was the first time there. Yeah. I wasn't particularly expecting to come second as I did in our starter deck challenge that we attended. However, I was thinking, you know what? Hopefully I'll be able to play at a rough power level. I didn't win many games. And there were people at the game shop, which, all fairness to them, great. They've gone out, they've bought the cards, or they've opened a load of packs and got the cards.
They've invested hundreds of dollars in building their decks, basically.
One of the guys literally told me he had dropped over $1,000 on cards, and that was British pounds. So, that's fine. And no judgment there at all if that's what you want to do.
$1,000 is a lot of money.
Yeah, but obviously then had meta decks, like the best decks you can play. Now, I didn't mind losing, but what I did mind was also playing alongside other people who were losing because they literally had a starter deck, who felt, I haven't been able to get, because a lot of cards at this point you couldn't even buy. Now there's been a second printing now, but at this point you couldn't even buy, even if you wanted to buy.
They're so expensive.
And even if you could find them, they were expensive. You could maybe find one or two, but not a full play set of four in the UK. So that's where we were. And some people were getting quite salty about the fact that, I can't play. And I just didn't want people to be not attending events because they're losing. And it definitely didn't make
Someone's
me want
to lose at every event, though. But losing because they can't compete rather than because... Like if you feel like you're on a level with everyone, if everyone's got a starter deck, you feel it's more fair, I guess. Whereas if people are paying to win by spending hundreds of dollars on a deck, that feels less
But that's
fair.
always going to happen in trading card games.
Yeah.
But generally, there's ways of accessing a game and playing it. So I don't want to spend $1,000 on a Magic the Gathering deck, so I play Commander, where I can just turn up with my $50 deck and play and have fun with other people and be at a similar power level. If I wanted to play Modern or Vintage or Legacy, then I wouldn't be able to play those in the tournaments that...
So part of what you're saying is there's not yet, or it's still emerging, a common language in Lorcana for how we agree on what level of this game are we playing here.
That's right. So that's what I wanted to do. There's nothing wrong. And again, no shame to people who want to buy all of the cards and put together the most powerful decks. And there's definitely a place for that, and I like that. I want to see that. I want to see that when there are like national competitions and international competitions for Lorcana, I want to see the very best people with the very best cards doing the most powerful things. But that's not where I am. That's not where a lot of people are. And I think we need some way of playing the game in a fun and accessible way with some kind of level playing field.
And one way of doing that would be to limit the the rarity of cards that you can have, which limits the power level and the cost. So if you're using commons and uncommons, those cards, even the most expensive ones, are like $2 or $3. But that's only very few of them. Most of them are like 5 cents or less that you can get them online.
Yeah.
So you can get a play set, so 4 of each card, relatively affordably, and start building some really interesting decks with just commons and uncommons. So that's why we wanted to, because our thing is playing casually.
Yep.
And we want to support people playing casually. That's why we want to look at some of our favourite commons and uncommons from the first chapter.
Yeah. So there's a few other ways I just wanted to mention before we move on to those actual cards.
Yeah.
Playing with commons and uncommons, really good for accessibility. Playing with fewer cards in your deck. At the moment, there aren't many strategies that would go through an entire 60-card deck. So a lot of people are playing 50-card decks and having exactly the same experience.
Mm-hmm. There's part of my brain that really doesn't like the 50-card deck. I want it to be 45, because then you can have 3 of each card.
Okay, no, I get that. So 40. I mean, but whatever works for your play group. The other things, I love multiplayer card games, and multiplayer kind of is self-policing in that if you've got 4 players all playing a game of Lorcana, and
someone's got a really powerful deck and is running ahead, everyone else can deal with them.
Exactly. It turns into a game of arch enemy. And if somebody else is running away with the game just because they've had a really good draw, then the table automatically kind of self-polices. So I really like that. The last way, which I think is reasonable at the moment, is where there are accessibility issues. I think that certain play groups probably need to think about using proxy cards, either like just playing cards with the name of the card scribbled on it or something like that. Yeah. Not fake cards. I'm not saying that. Please don't support that. I want Ravensburger to make money. But if you want to play test a card before spending a lot of money on it, if you want a play set of bells and that's going to cost you $120, before you play them, just scribble it on a normal playing card, put it in a sleeve that matches the rest of your deck, and give that a go, because that can be a really fun way of kind of testing really powerful decks. So those are
seeing
different
if that's
ways.
what you want to do. Yeah, I guess another something that I do is set a budget level or just go budget. So my favourite decks that I've built, I just enjoy building them because I do like trying to have a relatively powerful deck, but I don't like spending lots of money. So that's kind of where I try to aim in my play style, was like, how powerful can I get without spending lots of money? And I played a fun challenge.
Yeah, I played a $40 Magic the Gathering Commander League. It was over lockdown. It was on webcam, and it was super fun to see what people had done with their 40. Which it's Commander, you've got 100 cards, and you've only got $40 to spend. And I didn't even spend that much. I just used cards I had and took out the expensive ones and tried to reorganize it. I've still got that deck. I've upgraded cards since then, but it was super fun just to get creative in that way.
I remember when I first got into trading card games, because a good board game costs $40 to $60, right?
Yeah, you got it from
board
games.
games, yeah. And then it was like, oh, you can build a budget commander deck. So I was like, yeah, that's probably like $20, $25. No, a budget commander deck for most people is under $100. I was like, whoa, that's one deck. That's not even the whole game. We need 4 of these to play the game. It's like,
Yeah, unfortunately that's trading card games.
Yeah.
I think, and that's
well, unless you do this commons and uncommons thing, which can really bring the price right down.
Okay.
So let's go into them. What's your favourite common in Amber, Simeon?
So in Amber, my favourite, it's an uncommon, this one, and a lot of these are uncommons.
Yeah.
A lot of the common cards, we should say, are vanilla. By that we mean don't have any abilities, just have a strength and willpower, and that's all they have. Anyway, it's Cinderella, gentle and kind. It is a 4-ink inkable storyborn hero princess. Although she costs 4, she has singer 5. The character counts as cost 5 to sing songs, and also has exert to remove up to 3 damage from the chosen princess character. Exerts for 2 lore as well. Now, the remove up to 3 damage from chosen princess character, I mean, unless you're playing a dedicated princess deck, I mean, maybe that's good, maybe that's not. That's not what I want to focus on here. I just think that for singing, 5 is where a lot of the really good songs come in. That's I like that, the thought that somebody can build a really budget deck of going, I'm going to do the singing thing and play a load of actions. I'm not sure actions are competitive enough, and we mentioned this last podcast. I'm not sure actions are competitive enough at the moment to play a deck full of just actions. But yeah, I'd like to. This is the space to experiment in the kind of the budget deck kind of place, and experimenting with a kind of a song deck. I'd love to see that.
Thanks, Simeon. My card is Mickey Mouse. My Amber card is Mickey Mouse True Friend. It's an uncommon. It has 3 cost, and it's inkable, and it's 3 attack, 3 power, and 3 willpower. And it can quest for 2 lore. It's a vanilla card. It doesn't have any abilities, and it's a storyborn hero. The reason I chose this card in Amber, one, I really like the art, and the whole thing is that Mickey is welcoming you to the Great Illuminary. So it's like a welcome to Lorcana card. It's like a nice intro to the game. But also the cards that reflect Amber and what Amber does all seem to be rare or more. Mostly, almost all of them.
Yeah.
So whereas this is just like a really nice, a 3/3 that quests for 2 is just a nice card, and it'll fit in a lot of decks at the minute. I like it. It's good enough.
At the 3 ink in Amber, and without going into the super rare territories, there's not a lot better that you can do for 3 ink in Amber. Yeah.
So I'm not sure Amber's the best colour for this Poorcana common and uncommon play. But
no. To be honest, I struggled to find cards that I was excited about playing, and also I'm not sure if the strategies at the moment. Amber seems to be the card of removing damage, not
healing things.
Yeah, healing things.
And all of those things that do that are rare or more rare than rare, so they don't fit into this thing. Anyway, that brings us on to another colour, Amethyst, where some of the most bestest,
yes,
the greatest, most fun, most enjoyable cards in this colour are common and uncommon.
Yes. So the bestest card that I thought of, I mean,
this is probably the bestest card.
I don't know, but there are so many to choose from.
In common, this is the best common, I think.
But I wanted to choose a common because there are so many. The thing about Amethyst is, obviously, in Amethyst, everything says draw a card. That's incredible. However, a lot of times when I'm playing Amethyst, I end up drawing a load of cards and then sitting there with a handful of cards, feeling smug and not thinking, I haven't actually impacted the board state. So here is a card that impacts the board state and draws you a card. It's Maleficent Sorceress. She is 3 ink. And she is inkable. She's a 2/2 storyborn villain sorcerer, and cast my spell is her ability. When you play this character, you may draw a card. She only quests for 1 lore, but I think she's just great at that early in the game. You You play her out, you've got something on the board, and you've drawn a card. You haven't just used your turn to draw cards, you've actually impacted the board state. Also, I mean, she's a 2/2, which isn't insignificant at 3. I think that's it's good enough that somebody's going to have to think about how they deal with it. The other thing is that there are lots of ways of returning things to your hand in the game, and then if you're returning something to a character to your hand, that you can then has a when you play this character ability. That's excellent. Nothing bad. So I'm always happy to draw her. Also, the thing that changed my mind about this card, because I was like, that's a good card. But the thing was like, that is a great card, is that late in the game, you draw her off the top of your deck, and you're not like, oh, no.
I spent my 3 to find out what the next card is.
Oh, it's fine. I'll just put 3 ink in and then draw the next card. And it's just such a good feeling. And this goes across other card games as well that I play. The cards that actually impact the board and draw you a card for cheap. Just brilliant cards across. I don't know a card game where that isn't a powerful thing to do.
And she's also the classic Amethyst play. We're bringing in another common, not the one I'm picking, but you play her on turn 3, you draw a card, and if you've mulliganed well, you've also got friends on the other side in your hand, which is another common. So you then, on turn 4, you can sing friends on the other side with Maleficent, and then you draw 2 more cards. You just end up with a really full hand and lots of card advantage. It's just a really nice... They work really, really well together. Yeah.
Now, your Amethyst card.
Yes.
When you came back from playing Lorcana for the first time, you told me how amazing this card was. And I was like, I don't see it. But now...
This was the very first time, wasn't it? When it was like in the UK Games Expo, and it was like the first to 10.
You were so excited about this card. I don't see it.
I still think it's still a really good card. Having played loads of Amethyst in Lorcana League, there's 4 of these in my deck. It's Pascal, Rapunzel's companion. It's a 1-cost inkable 1/1, so it's not very powerful. It's a Storyborn ally. As I said, it's an uncommon, and its ability, quest for 1 law, and its ability is where it really shines. So when you have another character in play, this character gains evasive. So it's just really hard for the other player to deal with, because there's not much that can deal with something that's evasive. And because you've played it on turn 1, almost certainly you've brought another character out in turn 2. So the first time you're going to quest with it is turn 2.
Yeah.
So by then they can't deal with it. And if they've got Lilo out, it's a trade as well. And Lilo's better than Pascal, so you've done a good trade.
I always feel bad about having to deal with a Pascal.
Yeah.
I'm there like, I've got to spend one of my cards to get rid of the damn lizard.
Otherwise, they're getting that marginal advantage from this extra law that at the end, towards the end game, that's going to be what pushes them ahead. Yeah.
Oh, it's so annoying. I don't want to Dragonfire. I'm obviously not going to do that.
No, you wouldn't Dragonfire Pascal.
A little lizard. I don't want to fire the cannons at a lizard. Oh.
That's a bit of a fairer trade, but yeah.
Still, I don't want to do it. I want to use that. So, yeah, the amount of games I've finished where my opponent's still got a Pascal because I just never dealt with it. And you're like, maybe I should have dealt with that. Yeah. That's so annoying, that card.
I love it.
It is. It's great. It's a great card.
Let's move on to Emerald.
Emerald. Okay, you took mine.
Really? The one you've picked is amazing.
The
one I picked is also amazing. There's so many amazing cards in Emeralds. And we've not even picked the 2 best ones that cost loads of money. We just picked 2 other ones that don't cost so much. But yeah, go on.
Well, let's go for it. Mine is Jasper, the Common Crook. Now, Jasper is a 2/4. He has 3 ink and is inkable, a Storyborn ally. And his ability, Puppy Napping, is whenever this character quests, chosen opposing character can't quest during their next turn.
It is an uncommon.
It quests for only 1 law. However, you quest with Jasper and you say, sorry, opponent, your Bell card that is currently questing for 5 law can't quest next turn. Or whichever card...
So what changed your mind on Jasper? Because I remember once we sat in the pub
Yeah.
And I bought some Lorcana cards. I was like, Simeon, how do
Yeah.
we build this deck? And you're like, no, you definitely don't want Horace. Which, okay, fair enough, you probably don't want Horace, which is Jasper's companion. I was like, what about Jasper?
Unfortunately,
I'm not sure about Jasper. And now you're like, it's your favourite green uncommon.
Unfortunately, Jasper was guilty by association with Horace.
Okay.
I was so disappointed at the game designers for not making these have some kind of
Synergy, like Flotsam and Jetsam.
not even Flotsam and Jetsam, sure, but not even synergy, but at least some kind of mirror ability
Okay,
or something
yeah.
where they're doing something. Whereas Horace is just a vanilla card. Whereas Jasper's a great card. I would have loved to have played Horace and Jasper in the same deck. And my disappointment of, game designers, you've done a rubbish job making these characters feel like a duo. So therefore, I don't really want to play either of them.
Yeah.
That definitely clouded my judgment when I first saw
To
them.
defend the designers of the game, Jasper's the one who thinks he's intelligent and Horace is the one who's actually not. So maybe that's... So Horace is even worse than Jasper? That's like...
Oh, yeah, no, don't get me wrong. Yeah. Oh, yeah. They are bumbling fools. However, it is disappointing when you see a character on a card game and you think it should do one thing and it just doesn't do
So
that.
that's your disappointment.
If you say to
why do you
me-
like Jasper? What does Jasper...
It
Jasper
switches
do?
off so many cards. It is just a hard counter to so many decks.
Switches it off while gaining you a law at the same time as well. So you're shutting them down.
Well, the law's nice to have in Emerald. Chances are,
But would you do it if you weren't gaining the law, or would you just... Would you play the card if it was like, either you can have one law by questing, or you can exert it to stop
I
another
think I
one?
probably would.
You'd still do it.
Yeah, because we haven't seen that on a lot of cards, have we?
No, it is a really nice ability. So that
And they could
shows how
keyword
nice
that,
this card
couldn't
is.
they?
Yeah,
They could keyword that in the future to an ability, which when you do
yeah,
this,
or even not. It doesn't need to be keyword. Yeah, but yeah, that's it's a good card. It turns games around.
So I think this is the second best uncommon in Emerald. I think the card you've chosen is the best.
I don't think the card I've chosen is the best. It's just my favourite.
Oh, I love seeing it
Flynn
on my
Rider's the
side of the
best.
board, and I hate seeing it on your
That's
side
true.
of the board.
That's true. So the one I've chosen is a 5-cost inkable Emerald card. It's Mad Hatter Gracious Host. Mad Hatter is Storyborn. It's a 2/4. It quests for 3 lore. So even without any abilities, that would be a really nice card with that 4 willpower. So it's difficult to get rid of. And questing for 3 lore. And you can get it out on turn 5. All those things are really nice. But then it has an ability Tea Party. Whenever this character is challenged, you may draw a card. So whenever someone's trying to take it out by challenging, they're giving you cards into your hand as well. So for them to challenge it, you've already got the 3 lore from it.
Yeah.
And then they've got to deal with it, because if they don't, you're going to accelerate into lots of lore very quickly. But by dealing with it, you're probably going to be drawing cards. It's just...
It's the 4 willpower that just is so annoying for me, because
There aren't many challenging cards that all attack for 4, and if they are, you don't want to waste them on a Hatter.
you don't want to waste one on a Hatter. Also, the smaller, the fire cannons, that kind of thing, the things that ping things might finish something off. But do you really want to spend that on a Hatter? Yeah, I would compare this to a rare in Sapphire, and I often think they fill the same slot in my head. So there's a rare in Sapphire, 5 ink, but it's a rare. So the 5 ink Maleficent Uninvited is a 3/6, so also really difficult to deal with. And quest for 3 every turn. It's that 5 lore thing that comes before the big bomb of the deck. It comes just before the big punch, and it's just that 1-2 punch of, here's something that's quite good, and here's something that's very good. Deal with the thing that's very good. I've still got something that's quite good on board. So it's so hard to deal with.
Yeah. Let's move on to Ruby.
Let's move on to Ruby. My favourite Ruby card in the set is...
Your favourite card of overall, or your favourite common and uncommon?
Oh, I don't know. This is really good. It's 3-cost Aladdin Street Rat. For those of you who haven't faced against this a million times, and if you're playing online, I know you've played against this a million times because this was like the meta for a while. Aladdin Street Rat is a red 2/2. It only quests for 1 lore. It's 3. It's inkable, and it has improvise. When you play this character, each opponent loses 1 lore. So often, that 1 lore is what allows you to edge over the line in a control deck. In control decks, you need ways of slowing your opponent down, not just by impacting their board state, but also impacting their lore total. And between this and the Rapunzel that also loses 1 lore, or one of your opponent's lore, those 2 cards are just brutal to play against, because you see one and then you see another one, and then maybe you see a third and you think, well, maybe
you're calculating in your head how quickly you can get to your 20, and then it completely updates those calculations because it's probably another turn. It's not the 1 lore that hurts.
Oh yeah,
it's the extra turn
where they then just go, oh yeah, and by the way, I've won. Because those control the control matchups that I've played against, because that was the meta for so long. That control matchup, looking back at it, it was super tight. It was really tight, often. And that 1 lore, or 1 or 2 lore, depending on where you were in the game. Oh my goodness, it's just brutal. What about you? What was your favourite red card?
My favourite red is also a common.
Yep.
It's a 4-cost inkable, and it's Pongo Old Rascal. It's a 2/3, quest for 2 lore, and it's evasive. When I first saw this card spoiled, I was like, that's all right. But then when I played it, it's like, this is like...
it doesn't look like much,
you want 4
does it?
of these. In any deck with Ruby, you want 4 of them, I think. That's my opinion.
And in our last podcast, we just said it's just had an upgrade, or maybe you play all 8.
Yeah, with the Minnie Mouse Surfer. It's just a really good card. It's really hard to deal with.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It doesn't look like much.
No, it really doesn't.
It does what it needs to do in that slot in the deck.
Yeah, and when you see it, if you've got a Dragonfire in your hand, you're probably going to Dragonfire it, to be honest. Unless
you've got a load of evasive characters, which not a lot of decks have.
No, you've got to deal with it somehow. Yeah.
Amazing. Okay. Blue. I have spoken about this card.
Sapphire. Yeah.
A million times
you have.
before. And the more I play it, the more I'm happy to see it.
Really?
And I think a lot of people have said to me, does it do enough? And I go, well, if it doesn't do enough, I just ink it. Because often I won't necessarily even play it. But that's the joy of playing Lorcana, is no card is ever dead in your hand so long as it's inkable.
Yeah.
This is the 1-cost inkable develop your brain action. Look at the top 2 cards of your deck, put 1 in your hand and the other 1 on the bottom of your deck. So it's not card advantage, it's card selection.
Which is a kind of card advantage of sorts. Oh no, it's
well, no, because you're spending the 1 card.
Yes,
handcrafting, yeah. So you're spending the 1 card of develop your brain, and you're getting 1 card back, but you're getting the best 2 off of your deck. Now, in Sapphire, I've played a lot of Sapphire. You often end up top decking. Lorcana, currently, you often end up, regardless of the deck you play, you will often end up top decking. And in that situation, you want the very best card off the top of your deck. You want the one that fits the curve, and you want the one that's going to have the impact that you want it to have. And early game, this is brilliant. Late game, this is still great. I still love it. And if you end up mid-curve and it's just another card in your hand, and you go, oh, you know what? I've already got my 3 ink, 4 ink, 5 ink cards lined up here. I don't need that right now. It's inkable. So yeah, I think it's good, and I think it'll only get better as decks get better, card selection gets better.
Yeah, I'm not convinced.
You're not.
When we used to talk about it, I was convinced, but having played Sapphire decks, to be fair, it's a Sapphire Emerald that wants to go really fast.
Yes, it is. Yeah,
that's my deck. So I'd rather have a Flounder in my hand, and I quite quickly realised that.
Yeah, there's the super fast Sapphire Emerald deck. I get that, and that is one archetype. The Sapphire and something big, so either Steel or Ruby.
Yeah,
that kind of deck.
That's where you want more of this card
Yeah,
selection.
yeah. When you're
Yeah, I get
ramping,
that.
when you're using Sapphire to put loads of ink in your inkwell,
Yeah.
and then either topping it out with a bell or playing like a giant fairy or something like that. That's where you want it.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Depends what you want your deck to do.
Okay, and for the second entry of this character in your list, David.
The second entry of this set, Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse, the detective. 3 cost, uninkable, 1/3, quest for 1 lore. The main thing about Mickey Mouse is his ability to get a clue. When you play this character, you may put the top card of your deck into your inkwell, face down and exerted. So that means you play this on turn 3, which means on turn 4, you've got 5 ink because you've got this extra ink that you played, and then you play your turn 4 inks. You've got 5 ink on turn 4. So gets you ahead in terms of what you can play. I tend to see it more as card advantage. So rather than having to have spent an extra card to do ink, I would put it in a deck where I'm trying to get to 5 and then I stop and then I've got an extra card in my hand. So it does both of those things. It accelerates and it gives me card advantage.
Yeah, that is
and
the
it's
weakness.
A character on the board as well. That's a nice character to have. It's got a 3 willpower, which is not easy to get rid of.
Yeah, and that is the disadvantage to that strategy, because I've mentioned it. I've played the Bell deck. Mm-hmm. The disadvantage of that strategy is that the card advantage is strictly only ever going to be in inkables, in ink. So you have that whole thing of, do I ink more and to try and get up to Bell, or do I draw more cards?
Yeah.
Do I use this as extra, or do I use it as an extra card because now I'm not inking something on that turn?
Yeah.
Now, this comes out early enough, and to be fair, all of the inkables, all of this effect come out early enough. So this, one jump ahead, one step ahead, what's it called? Grandma Tower. They're all really early on. So you can do that. That's fine. I get that. So you can make the decision yourself. But it is really complex to play. I've really struggled to play that deck. The not knowing, do I try and get 10 ink out for a Bell, or do I just go, okay, well, I'm just going to go fast.
Yeah, I'm not talking about the Bell deck. And
you're right.
Again, we're talking about commons and uncommons, but I'm talking about the deck I play is the Emerald Sapphire, which doesn't have Bell in it.
So you
stop at 5.
Turbo.
You just go straight to 5, that's it, you stop. Yeah, but I have a deck. If any way where you want to get ink ahead of ink, Mickey Mouse is just a beautiful card. And what's interesting to me is when I saw people initially evaluating these so-called ramp cards before anyone had played Lorcana, Mickey was the one that they rated the least. Whereas now, it's the one that people put in the decks. If you pick one, it's the one you put in. And I don't know why that's happened. I can't mathematically explain that, but it's really interesting to me. And some people say this is the best common in the set now. I love the art, and they think it's a good common. I don't know if I go that far, but it's a nice card.
I think when we were originally evaluating these in other games, specifically Magic the Gathering, 3 cost ramp, not good. You don't really
want 2 cost or 1 cost.
You want the cheapest ramp you can get to start doing powerful things as soon as possible. In the control meta we've ended up with, where there is an awful lot of control going on and not a lot of racing, 3's fine. 3 is absolutely fine for Mickey Mouse, and it gives you something to do afterwards.
Even if you are racing, it's fine as well.
Well, that's it. Because it gives you something to do afterwards. Oh, you've still got a creature on board after it's done the ink thing. So that's brilliant.
Let's move on to steel.
Okay, our very last colour.
What is your steel card?
The steel card is, firstly, such a great card because the artwork is great. The it's a Dreamborn card, and I think this is exactly what Dreamborn should be. It's something super defined. It's still the same character, but with a little change that makes it super cool. It's Tinkerbell, Tiny Tactician. And I was also so happy that this was the opening weekend giveaway card. I was handed far too many of these by game shop owners in the first couple of weeks of the game launch, and I've put them in every steel deck since. It's 3 cost, inkable. It's a 2/4, and it has battle plans. You can exert Tinkerbell to draw a card, then choose and discard a card. and it exerts for 1 ink. And again, this for me solves that. It does the same thing in the early game. It's great, it's crafting your hand. Late game, it's doing the same thing as develop your brain, in that if you're you're either top decking or you've only got 2 or 3 cards in hand, and perhaps those aren't the ones that you really need. And I think with Tinkerbell, she's 4 toughness, so relatively resilient, and can spend a good 2 or 3 goes turns just going through the top card of your deck, and you go, oh yeah, I'll take that one. Oh yeah, I'll take that one.
Yeah,
and it just smooths out your game so well. And what a badass piece of art. Love it.
Exactly what you said. What Dreamborn should be. Yeah, and a good card in its own right, because a lot of people just see this as a stepping stone to go into the Floodborn Giant Tinkerbell. But actually, it's an excellent card in its own right.
But this is the thing: is that if you've got you want the Giant Fairy Tinkerbell, but if you haven't got that in your hand yet,
or if you don't own it,
no, okay. So let's assume you're playing a deck with both in.
Yeah,
Little Tink goes and finds Big Tink if you haven't already got it.
That's true. That helps as well. Yeah.
So no, definitely love this card. Okay, what's your last card?
My favourite character, Donald Duck, Musketeer. 4-cost Inkable, 2/5, Dreamborn Hero Musketeer, Quest for 1 Lore. Because it's a Musketeer, it has the ability Bodyguard, so it may enter play exerted, and when it is exerted, an opposing character who challenges one of your characters must choose one with Bodyguard if able. So that's really nice.
Okay.
It protects other stuff, and it also has an ability to stay alert. During your turn, your Musketeer characters gain evasive. They can challenge characters with evasive. So this is also an evasive card in your turn, as well as if you're only using commons and uncommons, you'd have Goofy as a possible other Musketeer you could include. And if you're doing the whole thing, you could also include Mickey Mouse Musketeer, which is a rare, and that would get evasive too. I find this really hard to play against. Whenever somebody puts it out, I just find it really annoying, because it's got a 5 willpower and you've got to get through it to get to anything else they've got. It's just like
depending on
so annoying. And then if you're in Ruby, you might Dragonfire it, but then you use a Dragonfire on a 4-cost card, and it's so annoying.
Yeah. I think depending on the deck you're playing, this can be really hard to. Because I was going to say, if you've got direct interaction and things like that, like Dragonfire, it is one of those things that I don't feel too bad, because then chances are the other thing that it's protecting probably doesn't have evasive, so you can then challenge the other thing with your characters.
Sure.
So a couple of times, I think somebody's played it against me like a gotcha. Now you
can challenge this because it only has evasive during your own turn. So
no.
Other people can challenge it.
I meant that it gives the evasive to the other things, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think they've seen it as a gotcha, and it is awkward to deal with. That said, I don't know. It only quests for 1.
Yeah, but it's a Bodyguard every time it quests. You want a quest.
Yeah, no. I get that. Yeah, no,
or
I
take
get
out
it.
some. It's got 2 strength, so you could take out someone with 2 willpower as well, and it would still have 3 willpower left. So
yeah, and you're right. As an uncommon in the set, that's probably
Donald Duck. I'm just going to put it in my deck, whatever it does. Same with the Sapphire Donald.
I did think that I was expecting the Musketeers deck to be a really good deck.
But that's what's nice. So you can build a Musketeers deck and you don't have to spend a fortune.
Yeah, you can, and it's fine. It's a fine deck, but it's not. I did look at that thinking
it's not even moderately powerful. It's just like my budget other deck that I built. Really better, but it's still fun. Let's go to listener questions, Simeon. Let's see what people have asked us.
Let's do that. So, okay, we're going to start with the email. This is Ben from New York. Says, as a long-time Magic the Gathering player, playing since 4th edition, Ben, you're probably almost as old as I am. There are many archetypes that I'd love to have access to in Lorcana, but would also be fearful if they ever became the best thing to do. I get it. Are there any archetypes or strategies from other games that you would like to see become a part of the Lorcana metagame landscape? And are there strategies that you also love that could risk ruining the game? Now, I've spoken a lot. That's Ben's question. I've spoken an awful lot about how I don't like in Lorcana the discard strategy. I think that
Making other people discard their
I
cards.
think that makes the game less fun.
Yeah.
For not just not obviously if you're making a player discard a load of cards, maybe you're having a lot of fun, but the other player is having inversely the exact amount of less fun, so you end up at zero sum fun.
It feels bad to discard cards, and then you don't have stuff to play either. It's just double pain.
Yeah, I just don't enjoy playing games where I have to top deck, where I have to just look at the top card on my deck and play it. So
do you
would say,
think the designers have looked at the economy of Lorcana and realised that they needed it to be really tight in terms of availability of cards, or do you think this is just they just like this?
I think there's a designer on the team who thinks that a discard meta is fun, because there are people who will enjoy that. So something that, and I've told you about this before, so Ben Brody he used to design Hearthstone, now designs Marvel Snap, talks about how to create additional fun in a game. And that, so he would say, there's a brilliant talk at some gaming con. If you Google it, it'll come up. Just look at Ben Brody does talk. Yeah. And he talks about how something like this, the player that's making you discard has exactly the same amount of fun as the player who is discarding isn't having. Therefore, you haven't created any joy in the world. You haven't created any fun.
You're just at net zero.
You're just at net zero. Whereas there are things that make you, that are fun for both players. Even if you're losing, you've done the thing, for example. You know, when you're, you know what, I haven't won, but you know what, but I've got this card out. Yeah. If I'm playing my Bell deck and I haven't won, but I got Bell out with 10 ink and I was almost there, I've had fun anyway, even if I've lost, because I've built my little machine. Or the other thing is like punts that work out. So like random things like dice rolls or coin flips or things that are random. And when they turn out great, both players are like, what? That was incredible. So that's a kind of something that increases the net fun. So those are the things I would like to see. So to answer Ben, from Magic the Gathering, I don't know what I'd really bring in, because I also want Lorcana to have its... I already play that game. If there's anything I like from that game, I'll just play Magic. Yeah. I would like to bring in chaos and randomness. I'd love to see some coin flip things, or just random things like a Magic the Gathering card that I love is Chaos Warp, where a player, it destroys one of their creatures, so it would banish a character. So the card might read banish a character, and then flip over the top card of that player's deck, and they can play that card immediately
For free.
Yeah.
That's nice. Yeah.
And that would create a sense of randomness, but also it's danger. It does everything I'd like in the game. So I'd really like to see that. I think the thing I'm fearful of, to answer Ben's other question, is the very thing that we've already got, is the discard deck. I don't want to play against that. If at a casual night I sit down against somebody and they say, "Oh, I've built Flim Rider discard. Do you want to play?" I'll be like, "No, thanks."
Yeah.
I mean, that's just me. That's not me being salty or unreasonable. That's just, I'm not going to have fun. So, and that's why I'm playing a game. So, nah.
Yeah. Interesting. I think my answer's similar. The mechanic I want to see is already here in Rise of the Floodborn, which is group hug.
Yes.
So that's about making it fun for everyone. So supporting other people and doing things that they want to do.
Yes.
So the Donald Duck Perfect Gentleman card helps everyone draw more cards. I like that. So what I would like to see is better payoffs for group hug. So rather than the payoff being you get Donald Duck to draw them cards, so that then you can get Flynn Rider to discard their cards, there have been other things that you can do that help you because you've helped your opponent.
So if our listeners aren't listening to or don't play Magic the Gathering, give me an example of a payoff in a group hug deck.
A payoff in a group hug deck. So a payoff might be, for example, there might be an action that lets you borrow all your opponent's glimmers, all their characters, and quest within that turn.
Yeah.
That might be a payoff. So you've helped your opponent get loads of characters out, and then you've got a card that lets you borrow those characters back. So it's almost like a more interesting version of Be Prepared.
Yeah.
Because Be Prepared impacts how people play. Because if you're playing against someone who's got Ruby in their deck, you don't want to put all your characters out necessarily, because they could board wipe, and then if you've got no cards because you've played them all,
Yeah.
you're in trouble. Whereas if there are cards that do other things that interact with their characters in other ways, it creates the same dilemma in their mind, but it's less painful. Yeah. So that could be an example of a payoff.
Yeah, great. Okay, let's turn now to X, open brackets, Twitter, close brackets. I'm transitioning slowly. I'll get to X eventually, but I just still need to say Twitter for now.
Yeah.
Okay, our friend Jared has asked a question. It's very similar to what Ben asked, but framed differently, and I think we're going to get a different answer.
Interesting. Go on.
If you could add one game mechanic to Lorcana, what would it be?
I find that really hard to answer because I feel like it would change the game if we added a new mechanic. Does he mean like ability on a card or something like that? I don't know. I don't have an answer for that.
I'm imagining, something like a series, like a keyword or something that would.
I think when you said it, my mind didn't go to mechanics. It went to components. Is that a mechanic? Better components would be a nice mechanic for me. So, for example, I've got a couple of Lorcana decks that I've sleeved in Lorcana sleeves, and they are an absolute nightmare to shuffle.
Really?
Whereas I've got a Lorcana deck that I sleeved in Dragon Shields sleeves, and it's beautiful to shuffle.
Dragon Shield are not currently sponsoring this podcast. However, if they'd like to get in touch...
No, Game Genic are just as good as shuffleable sleeves. There's plenty of good shuffleable sleeves that Ravensburger could have drawn inspiration from, rather than giving us nice, beautiful art on the sleeves, but not great user experience. The same with like the damage counters that you get in the starter decks and the.
I think people would pay if because I absolutely slammed the treasure trove. The collector's trove, is that what it was called?
Yeah, because I thought it'd have nice components in there because you're paying your extra money. So
it's got some.
It's got the same components as the starter deck.
It's got a deck box that is cardboard and will fall apart. Or is sorry, is cardboard.
You could use it, but it wouldn't last that long. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things that like, oh man, other companies do this better. The way that other game companies do this is they have other companies produce their stuff for them. So Ultra Pro makes stuff for Magic the Gathering art on, so it licenses it out. Now, I understand that's complicated because Ravensburger is already the licensee for Disney, so they're then sub-licensing to Ultra Pro or Game Genic or whoever.
Yeah.
I don't know. I get it. But the sad thing is, I know people who have sleeved up their cards in beautiful Lorcana sleeves and then put them in outer sleeves as well to protect the extra sleeves and to make it easier to shuffle. Yeah. Because the other sleeves were getting scratched, and with an outer sleeve, then it's transparent outer sleeve, and then they can shuffle. And it's like, oh my god, just skip the extra steps.
It might be part of the culture at Ravensburger. So one of my favourite Ravensburger games is Castles of Burgundy, and that's like a big Eurogame experience of a game that would normally cost like £40 to £50.
Yeah.
And when I bought it, it was £20. And the reason it was £20 is because the components are produced at a budget level. Yeah. But it was fine. It was still really fun to play. But with Lorcana, they're not selling it at a budget price, so don't do the budget components.
Yeah. But also other games of theirs, Villainous, it's great components.
Yeah,
it's fun.
True.
It's great.
Yeah.
It looks
really
good.
nice play pieces.
Some of them are great. Yeah, Jared, I feel like you've been cheated and that we've just talked. You asked about game mechanics. We talked about components. Get used to it. Never mind. Okay, on to the next one. What missing characters? Sorry, this is Blitz99 on X. Open brackets, Twitter, close brackets. What missing characters from already represented movies or franchises would you like to see added?
Way back when we only had 7 characters.
Oh, yes, I remember those days. We did like 6 podcasts on the episodes on the back of that. Yeah, it was great.
There was Brave Little Tailor, Mickey Mouse, and I watched Brave Little Tailor, the short film, because of Lorcana. And I wanted to see the giant that Mickey defeats in the first set. I'm really surprised it wasn't there.
That would be a great throwback character. Yeah. What a great character design, recognisable, fun. Yeah, really good.
So that would be mine.
We're recording this a week out of Rise of the Floodborn launching, so maybe we will see more Wreck-It Ralph characters. I want to see every single one of those Wacky Racer racers from Candy. What was it called? Candy Racers?
I don't remember.
Can't remember the game in Wreck-It Ralph. But they are, each of them has great character design, and I'd love to see what they do. The same as they've done the Seven Dwarves, I'd love to see the racers from Wreck-It Ralph. That would be lovely.
Yep. More questions. There's still more.
There's yeah. Artem, on the back of a conversation on Twitter, but I just thought this is a great question. Which villain from Rise of the Floodborn is the most British? And I'd like to see us as, we are the barometer of Britishness in the Lorcana world.
There's so many good British villains in Rise of the Floodborn. Queen of Hearts? Can I have Queen of Hearts?
Queen of Hearts, played by Helena Bonham Carter, like she is in the new Alice movies.
Is it?
Yes.
Is it?
Yeah.
Even better. That is the epitome of Britishness, because she even plays Princess Margaret, doesn't she, in the series about the British royal family on Netflix? So.
I would never watch a series about the British royal family, but I'm glad you're enjoying it.
You should.
No, I can't. I literally can't.
Interesting.
Anyway, personal views aside, I would very much like to acknowledge Shere Khan, played by Benedict Cabbage Patch Kid.
And what about Scar? While we're on big cats, Jeremy Irons. You can't get much more British than Jeremy Irons.
Is there a thing where Americans just see Britain as villains, like we invaded half the globe and then quickly retreated back to our little island after ransacking every corner of the globe? Are we the bad guys? Okay, thank you everybody for your questions. If you would like to get in touch, you can definitely do so. Please drop us an email at lorcanapodcast@gmail.com, on X and TikTok. We are at Lorcana Podcast. And David always says, and nobody's done this yet, so please be the first, write us a review in your podcasting app, like Apple Podcast, where we can see the review, and pop your question in the review, and we'll answer it on air.
We will. We answer all the questions. We like questions.
We like questions. That's great. It's brilliant. And it's nice to be a podcast. We're a small podcast. This is not a big thing, so we can answer all the questions. I quite like that. I would hate to be somebody like Saffron Olive must open his card, Magic the Gathering personality, or the Professor must open their YouTube comment section and just go, "Oh my goodness, I can't." And whereas I'm like, ask me another question. Do it again. Do it again.
Goodbye, Simeon.
Goodbye, David.